Hey visibility hackers, in today's video we're talking about how we helped Project Norex 13x their lead generation in less than 3 months. And most importantly, we're going to tell you how you can do that too. Hey, I'm Coach Molle from Visibility Hacking Studios, and well, we help small businesses, visionary leaders, crazy entrepreneurs share their mission with their movement. Get that message out to the world. Project Norex is transforming the conversations we have about our health information. They're a small startup looking to gain a wider audience. They want to share their message with this new audience with the intent of creating curated conversations. And of course, fostering long-term relationships with their customers and potential customers. So they came to the Visibility Hacking Studios for a cost-effective marketing strategy. They wanted to turn on their connection machine. They wanted a system that puts relationships first, and that's what we do best. When they came to us, we realized they had a patchwork of DIY solutions, which maybe worked as Band-Aid solutions, but weren't going to work to scale at the speed that the business was scaling at. Let's be honest, the patchwork that they had put together wasn't working for them then and wasn't going to work for them in the future. So we got creative and turned it all around. So this is the story of what we did. I'm going to talk to you about the lead generation campaign objectives that we had going on. Then I'll tell you about our simplified lead generation process. And then we'll talk about the lead generation iceberg. So if you want more leads with your content, stay tuned. So with this campaign, we had two major objectives. The first objective was to figure out what their current strategy was and why it wasn't working. So we had to take a couple weeks to figure out what was going on in their current strategies. What were the tactics they were using in order to achieve those strategies? Because then we could move on to phase number 2, and that's to find the right strategy for them. And in this case, we figured that the goal to achieve there would be to reach the right decision makers, not just to share their message with everyone in the world, but to target specifically those who were going to be the decision makers for joining their programs and purchasing their products. So this meant we had to understand who their customer avatar was at a very core level. And so, of course, we ran them through our customer avatar series and got them to figure out who their customer is. And it was kind of like we introduced them to a brand new date. It was kind of exciting, actually. And if you want to figure out who your customer avatar is, you can join our customer avatar series as well. It's linked here on our channel. I'll put a card up there if you just want to click on that, figure out who your customer avatar is, and then come back and introduce them to us. Which brings us to our question of the day. What are your current marketing objectives? And bonus, what are you doing to achieve them? Let us know down in the comments. Now, our lead generation system is nice and simple. It's 3 very easy to remember steps. First, you have to understand, then you have to experiment before you can go to step 3, which is to scale. In phase 1, understand, you're trying to figure out what's going on. Who is the market? What are they into? What kind of terminology are you using? You're really starting to listen to your market. This is where you're doing your research. Then in phase 2, we did a lot of experimenting and we figured out what was working. We did a lot of A/B split testing. We did a lot of campaigns where we're asking our market what were they into, what were their objectives, what were their problems. We really wanted to figure out in this phase how to fix what was broken. And once we figured that out, we moved on to step number 3, which is to scale, which is where we start to reach a much wider audience. Because we figured out in the last step how to fix what was broken, we're now going to focus all of our energies on moving towards what worked well. You know what works really well and is really simple to do? clicking the subscribe button and joining us here on the Visibility Hacking channel. We would love to see more of you around. I love a cold drink, but I'm scared of icebergs because what you see above the water is only a fraction of the entirety of that iceberg. And the same thing applies for most lead generation strategies. There's a lot of teaching in this industry about reverse engineering funnel designs and lead campaigns and launch campaigns and all of that. But the problem with that is that you're reverse engineering from only seeing the top of the iceberg. And what tends to happen is most people focus on, unfortunately, poor performing campaigns because that's all they see at the top of the iceberg. And that's exactly what we saw when we stepped into Project Norex. We saw a poorly performing campaign, no direction and no goals. But what we had to do was dig a little bit deeper. Our clients knew it wasn't performing well, but they didn't understand why. So I want to share with you 3 really important things that are below the waterline in the iceberg of most lead generation campaigns and why they're not performing appropriately. First, as we've already mentioned, is having the wrong avatar, not truly understanding who your target customer is. A lot of brands will say, well, lead generation, we want to be wide, we want to be broad, but in reality, you actually want to be much more tailored and much more targeted to your specific customer avatar. So of course, you can move past that by checking out our customer avatar series. The second thing I want you to know that's underneath this waterline on our iceberg is having the wrong channel. You could be speaking the right message to the right people, but you're not speaking to them because they're somewhere else. A lot of brands that we work with, when they first get started, they're trying to be on every platform, and they pick their platforms based on where they see other campaigns being successful, rather than focusing on where their people are. So if we're speaking our message in the wrong channels, we end up speaking to the wrong people overall. So if your people are hanging out on Facebook, why are you hanging out on Twitch? Go hang out where your people are. And finally, the third most important part of this iceberg, really the biggest part of this iceberg, is understanding whether or not your hook, your story, and or your offer are properly aligned with that customer as well. Your hook is what grabs their attention. The story is what keeps them interested and what moves them from a place of indecision. And then your offer is what actually gets their brains going. It's that invitation and opportunity for them to join you. If even just one of these things we've just talked about is out of alignment, your campaign is not going to work properly. But what we did was we did that deep dive look and we saw what was happening in the Project Norex and were able to target specifically who their target market was. We changed up everything that was happening because we started from the strategy level and we looked at the foundations. Pretty simple, but pretty darn effective, I have to say. And it was an absolute pleasure to be able to work with all of the members of Project Norex, to get to know their community, to get to know their customers. It was an absolute honor, and I look forward to working with them again in the future. Now, if you want to turn on your own connection machine specifically tailored for your target market, then I invite you to join us in the visibility hacking world. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. You can check out one of these playlists or one of these videos. I bet you'll enjoy them, because if you enjoyed this one, you'll enjoy those ones. Until I see you again, my friends, remember, I love you. Be excellent to each other. Just go live. Your people are out there, and they're waiting for you.